Mary Me, Annie here. I loved a video that Ember HoneyRaven put up earlier this week. I'll link you to it because it really is a great video. Such a simple thing and so very inspirational. She shared with us a discussion she had with a coworker about what a witch does day to day in their daily life. We don't go someplace to a building to be a witch. We don't have certain things we must do every day to be a witch. But if you look at the moments of our lives, what's the weave through that is indeed who we are as a witch. Great video. I hope you'll take time to look at hers. I decided I wanted to do the same thing, to look at a given day in my life and to just see what in that day connects me to who I am spiritually, to the magical way I view the world and my connection to it, to others, to what's going on within inside me at another level other than just the apparently mundane living of moment to moment. And I realized I didn't want to inform, since I had the benefit of seeing her video. I didn't want to plot and plan a day and even unconsciously find myself constructing a day that would look really good as a video. Yeah, I'm capable of doing that. I'm too much of a videographer sometimes. So I decided, when I watched hers, I would reflect on the day before that for me. Think of myself in it, and think about how my life is a celebration of who I am and how I am a witch. So I took the day before I had watched her video. We have a getting up procedure here in the house. We share, my husband and I, our bed with the 3 dogs. A big dog, and a medium dog, and a small dog. And getting up in the morning for us is a half-hour process. The pure bliss of it is, very rarely do I have to get up at any time or be anywhere at a particular time in the morning. I hold mornings particularly sacred at this point in my life. As a celebration, in light of all the years of working and being responsible for a family and taking care of others, that the moment I got up, I owed things to certain people at certain times, job or family or whatever. Not that there wasn't a lot of glory in that, but today is glory. We wake up always about the same time. My husband and I need the same amount of hours sleep per night. So usually when we go down, 7 hours later, we're awake. The moment the dogs know we are awake, they begin to wake up. Always the same routine every morning. The min pin comes out from underneath the covers, stretches and does a little groan. Ernie, you know Ernie if you're a fan of my channel, stretches and farts. That's what he does. And George, the old boy who's laying at the bottom of the bed in his own little space where nobody bothers him, starts a little bit of a stretching, groaning thing. It's hard to wake up when you're an old dog or an old person. Amen, George. I understand that totally. So the first half hour of our morning is magical. Every morning it's a beast and human celebration. We play with them, they play with each other. We just have a wonderful beginning to each day. Okay, so getting coffee and breakfast and taking the dogs out for their first trip outside. None of that's particularly an expression of who I am spiritually. However, I do get that first moment outside every single morning to experience it, no matter the weather. And I really enjoy that. It takes me away the moment I step outside into a wider world. It comes in handy sometimes. If the day is not a good one in the sense of challenges or problems with lupus or something that makes the day itself seem heavy, starting the day aware that, oh, it's about more than just this, my living experience. So that first stepping outside every morning about the same time, it's absolute joy. Breakfast probably counts because we have been so much better about taking good care of our bodies, especially this last year. Breakfast is a nice healthy start to the day around here. I then take a few hours, usually about 2 hours, to myself. That is definitely part of my spiritual process of the day. Time for meditation. I may have a certain thing I want to do in front of my altar, something set, a daily devotion I do every morning. The daily reflections that I now publish daily come out of that. They were for myself originally, and I share them with others. There's a routine to the day there, that time for myself in the morning, time to do my daily reflections, time to spend perhaps at my altar if there's something I feel called to settle down for quiet meditation. Sometimes that means taking a walk, leaving the house and taking a walk. And we are so blessed where we live because we're only a couple of 100 yards uphill from the bay. So always at some point during the day, usually in those quiet times in the morning, down to the bay I go to visit our beloved bay, all of its animals, the broad expanse of the sky, because we're looking out at this point over the Atlantic Ocean. Our bay ends, there's a quarter-mile strip of land, and then there is the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a vastness, an opening up that just takes me away without fail every day. And I love to walk no matter the weather. High heat of summer, freezing sleet of winter. We don't have freezing sleet yet, but I had to put my earmuffs and my gloves on for the first time this week. And it's a takeaway, a flyaway, a soaring, swooping experience that is definitely an expression of who I am as a witch. When I come back, there's specifically witchy things I attend to. Usually an hour or two writing for the season of the Seeker that I'm teaching, perhaps recording its videos. I may attend to my blog. That's the time at which I start checking in online, usually by mid-afternoon. And there's something about that I would also ascribe to who I am as a witch. The connections and the communities, all of you, people that are joining my Facebook group. The expansion of community that I don't have here, where I live physically, but others of like mind. That expanding of mind to mind. Looking forward to what your videos are saying, what you've written on Facebook group. Definitely an expression of who I am as a witch. All of those things were the rhythm of the day before I watched Ember HoneyRaven's video. And then I had the extra benefit on that particular day to go to the beach. We like to go to the beach whenever we've had a storm here. It's off season, there's no more tourists, and especially if you go to the state park, you can be on the beach all day and never see another human being. My husband can't go down on the beach with me there because it's a big cliff that goes down into the beach. So off we went. There had been a nor'easter, which meant high waves and dramatic surf. Where we live in the mid-Atlantic coast, the waves are kind of like just this kind of wave. 2 to 3 feet. It's not like that dramatic crashing ocean you think of some places, until there's a storm, especially when there's a nor'easter. You get 12, 13, 14-foot waves. Off I went, down my cliff to my favorite spot. No one else. Not even, this time of year there's a lot of fishermen doing surf fishing. It was too windy for them. It just didn't work as far as fishing. Not another soul. I didn't spend much time over there because we had some things we had to do. Half an hour is all I spent, but a half an hour with just me and the ocean. So I was communing with, oh gosh, so many things at once. The energy of the sea, the sky, the sun, and that cold air, to have the sun warming me up. I felt the presence of my goddess with me. And then some sense of the wider mystery of all of this unbelievable beauty. And I just felt so blessed in that moment to be part of it. We had to attend to something a little sad after that. We had to go to the memorial services for one of the neighbors, elderly neighbors we've been taking care of recently. Gotta say, the experience of death, what it means for me, especially in this particular memorial, which was very celebratory in nature. Definitely the experience of being fully present to my spirituality and who I am as a witch in this consideration of life and death. And we got back to the house. I wanted some me time. I wanted to withdraw away from my husband for just a little bit. That too, come to think of it, it's a great part of who I am in a day's time. The declaration that I need, and I will have moments of solitude, very much a part of how my spirituality and who I am weaves through the day. So I came back thinking I would do a meditation, maybe light a candle for this dear gentleman who was gone, and instead I redid my altar. I guess the experience of death in the season of death, before the season of renewal begins, had me thinking there's always a time that my Samhain altar, which I keep up until sometime before Yule, there is a time when I want the autumny things to disappear off of it. I keep the essence of Samhain still there, the idea of death and regeneration, possibility there, because it feeds into the return of the sun for the solstice. So my meditation became actually redoing my altar. I think, if I remember, I'll put a picture of my current altar. The in-between altar. I mean, that just sounds as dramatic as it is, but that moment of reflection, maybe 15 minutes that it took me to take away the leaves and the pine cones and the pumpkin, and there was wheat and the altar cloth, which looked like autumn still, and put down what's the basis for my altar at Yule, but in its most simplistic form. The black and red altar cloth stays there through the next season. But it was like a stripping down, getting down to the basics of the season of Samhain, so that when I am called to set up my altar for the solstice, which I usually do the day before, it's like the closest thing I can think of this time of year is when I've been to Christian churches, when you go into them at Easter, and you go into that service where the church is totally undecorated because of the absence of the Christ at that point. And then flowers come out, and candles are set out, and cloths are draped, and just in front of your eyes it becomes more and more awake and alive. That's what decorating my solstice altar feels like for me. So I always get to this place of wanting to get it down to its most simplistic level, where I take away all those Samhain-y kinds of things, leave an image of death, because that's the promise of rebirth. And then I'm ready, come the solstice, to add a bunch of flourishes and color and brightness to it, to turn it into a celebration of the return of life. So, that moment of quiet that I needed, well, that became a seriously Richie one, because I had to redo my altar, get it down to the bare bones to prepare for the solstice coming up. Other than that, after that, preparing the meal that night for dinner, always to me a very spiritual experience. The offerings of the food, things sacrificed from the earth, creating something out of them in love for our meals. And if I'm going to be honest, it was also the opportunity later that night to make love with my husband, to celebrate the absolute wonder and energy and attachment to spirit that is the expression of who we are at an intimate level with our partners. And I ended the night, again on a rather witchy note, taking the dogs outside the last time, and we hadn't seen the moon for probably the better part of a week. Stormy skies, clouds, had the dogs out. It was late. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Or should I say it was early. But it was still part of my day. And I had the last dog out. I was sitting on the back steps while he was taking his time, doing his business. And I looked up, and just as I looked up, the clouds parted, and the moon came through. Outlined in the trees, the pine trees, because we don't have a clear view over top of the house because we live in the woods. And that moment of pure bliss, the feeling of blessings just descending on me. Began and ended the day feeling very connected to and grateful for life. That that particular day was a good day to have a reflection back on. Celebrations of the simplicity of life. The things that I do day to day, working on Season of the Seeker and my teaching and my journaling and what I publish as an expression of who I am spiritually. The ability to be with the ocean in that powerful moment, to be in a place of honoring of life and death for the departed loved one, to take some time with my altar, kind of this ceremonial aspect of who I am as a witch, the comfort and companionship of my husband for the night, including those warm and intimate moments we spent together. Was there anything anyone could see as overtly witchy about any of that? Oh, maybe the altar thing? Maybe. Other than that, no. Just living. And like Ember HoneyRaven said, living the life of a daily witch. I'd love if you could do something like this. She said she'd love to see vlogs. I would too. Oh man, I love vlogs. They're probably my favorite part of anything any of you do. I didn't do a vlog on purpose because I knew I was going to have a struggle with myself to want to plan a day that looked like it was vloggable. So I reflected on the day before. And luckily for me, it was an easy reflection because it was a rather beautiful day. And I could easily see. There's the challenge sometimes. Don't you think we go through a day and we forget who we are as spiritual beings within that day? Certainly it happens to all of us. For a day or more than one day. I had an easy day to reflect back on. I'd love to see video responses on this, whether it is something you reflect on. Perhaps right now stop and think about yesterday, like I did when I watched her wonderful video. Or perhaps take your camera with you for a day, or journal for a day, and then share with us. We all understand that what we are as witches, as spiritual beings, isn't something that is defined by a particular thing that we do, or a place that we go, an act, words, anything as definite as that. It is through the living of our days that we express who we are and who we are in relation to. What do you think about this? What do you think about how you live your days, intentionally or not, expressing who you are as a witch, a daily witch? Ernie. I wish you all mirth and reverence.